What are the 10 most popular weapons to use in Warzone? Welcome back, I'm Austin, and the meta is always going to be whatever guns are picked the most in loadouts. I'm not only going to be telling you the most popular weapons, I'll be showing you the most popular attachments as well to give you all the best class setups. All this information is coming from Warzone Ranked. And the 10th most popular weapon is the Automaton, being picked in 2.7% of loadouts. Meta weapons usually have average to good time to kills and are easier to use. The Automaton fits right into that description because it is one of the friendliest to use weapons in Warzone because of its low recoil, making it the perfect long-range AR for all skill levels. And jumping straight to the most popular attachments, I actually just put them all together in a class to make this really easy to look at. This is going to be geared towards being a long-range assault rifle because that's where it really excels. The one thing I would definitely change would be this G16 optic into the SVT 3 to 6 times scope because it's really going to help you with the extra zoom in long-range fights. Now the only other change I would suggest maybe making if you're more skilled would be switching from the 75 round mag to the 50 round mag. This will actually increase your time to kill as well as getting you more bullet velocity and range. The only negative is it will add to your recoil, so that's why I say if you're more skilled, switch to the 50 round mag. If you have trouble aiming weapons at long range, just leave the 75 round mag on and it will still do great. And the 9th most popular weapon is going to be the XM4, and it's picked in 3.1% of all loadouts. And now this thing is kind of like the Automaton, where people do like using this thing as a long-range weapon, but I find it to be more versatile, where you can also use it as a sniper support. But when we look at it, what does it do well? Well, it's pretty accurate, has a really competitive time to kill, but then it only takes one neck or headshot to lower the TTK into top tier. If it's easy to use, it has really good upside, this weapon is obviously going to be within the meta today. Now if we go straight to the most popular attachments, people like to use this thing as a long-range assault rifle much more than they do as a sniper support, so the attachments will reflect that. The agency suppressor is of course going to be for the bullet velocity, effective damage range, and to help with the recoil. We got the task force barrel, that's going to be range, bullet velocity, recoil, just like the field agent grip. We got the extended mag to get the damage per mag up, and the action alarms 3 times scope. This is a great weapon to pair with any SMG. The 8th most used weapon is the well gun, picked in 4% of loadouts. This has one of the fastest time to kills up close in the entire game and has absolutely no recoil, making it the most overpowered SMG in Warzone in my opinion. This should be higher on the list. There's no reason it should be the 8th most. If we look at the most popular attachments, there's only one thing I would change, and that's the ammunition from hollow point to subsonic. That way we don't show up on the minimap because we don't have a suppressor. We have on the recoil booster, which gives us a 5% boost to our TTK. So that's a super important attachment to use on any close range weapon, but every good player uses their minimap, so we throw on subsonic. That way they don't know exactly where we are. You gotta try this setup out. It is completely busted and overpowered. Use it before it's nerfed. The 7th most used weapon is going to be the STG-44, picked in 4.5% of loadouts. Now this weapon is one that can be used as a sniper support or as a long range weapon, and I personally find this weapon to be super easy to use. It has no recoil, kind of like the Automaton, but you get a slightly better TTK, which is why it's probably higher on this list. This thing has been popular just because it was the first gun implemented from Vanguard into Warzone, and if we go over to the most popular attachments, people like to use this thing as a long range weapon, and there's only a couple of changes I would make. Instead of the G16, I would use the 3 to 6 times scope. And then the other thing is Vital doesn't do anything to help your time to kill, so I would either switch this up to Focus so we get more flinch resistance, or I'd go with Acrobatic just to give some better movement speed, but it's up to you. I'll just put Focus on because that's more geared towards the long range nature of this setup. Surprisingly, the 6th most used weapon is going to be the Brin. I don't know how this isn't number 1. It's still the most busted, overpowered long-range weapon we got in Warzone. I don't really know what to say. I think this one's been beaten to the ground. I think everyone knows it has no recoil. It kills people really fast, has a ridiculous range before the time to kill drops off. There's really nothing I can say about this other than anyone can use this weapon effectively. The most popular attachments are the correct attachments across the board. I wouldn't change a single thing about this. The handling's a little bit slow because it's an LMG and the magazine's a little small, but everything else is perfect. This thing is just easy mode. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. The 5th most used weapon in Warzone is going to be the Swiss, picked in 5.3% of loadouts. This is my personal favorite sniper in the game because you get really good body damage as well as having really good bullet velocity, and you got pretty good ADS, not quite as good as the Modern Warfare Kar 98, but it's still pretty top tier and elite. I have the easiest time hitting my shots with this weapon. It just feels great in your hands. And for the most used attachments, they're actually exactly what I use with the GRU suppressor, combat recon, SWAT 5MW lasers for your ADS, as well as the serpent wrap. Pretty much the GRU and combat are to get the max bullet velocity, so it's more hit scan and less bullet drop off out to your super far ranges that you'll be using this. This thing's fantastic. This would be my #1 sniper in the game. The fourth most used weapon is going to be the Vanguard PPSH, picked in 7% of loadouts. I think there's still a little bit of holdover from when it was broken a week ago, where they made all the damage points like 10 to 20 points more, so killed in like 350 milliseconds. Don't get me wrong, this thing is still amazing and a great hipfire SMG. It just isn't as good as the well gun that was lower on the list. Now for the most popular attachments. Everybody loves to use this thing as a hipfire build, which personally I'm not a huge fan of hipfire weapons, so I like to build my things out more for ADS. So I'm going to have this up on the screen, and now I'm going to end up switching it to my preferred loadout. You can already tell I switched the ammunition to subsonic instead of hollow point because we're using recoil booster and I don't want to show up on the mini map. The next thing is we changed the magazine to the Gorenko 71 round mag because this is just the base ammo instead of this one that lowers our damage, making it take 1 billion bullets to knock someone, making the damage per mag really bad. I prefer the Gorenko 71 round mag because they have about the same TTK. Then the next thing, I switched to the Zach 300 barrel. This gets our bullet velocity and range up with recoil control. My build lets you use this out past 9 meters, so this thing is going to be really accurate, still has a good time to kill, and pretty good hipfire, honestly. It's just you can use it out to farther ranges. The third most used gun in Warzone is going to be the Modern Warfare Kar 98, picked in 7.2% of loadouts. And yes, I know these clips are the Vanguard Kar 98, but I haven't used this thing since Caldera's been implemented because the Swiss is the #1 sniper in my heart. But why do people use this thing? Because it has an amazing ADS. The problem with it is the damage when you hit body shots. If you don't hit a headshot on this thing, it's pretty trash. But you're gonna have great movement because it's actually considered a marksman rifle instead of a sniper, which is probably why this is the most used in the game, because you get better movement stats. Now for the class setup, everything's geared towards ADS speed. Once again, we obviously have monolithic suppressor and Syngard custom barrel, so we get the max bullet velocity, but then tac laser and FTAC sport comb are both going to get the aim down sight speed to be insanely fast. And then we of course have to add a sniper scope on here because it isn't actually a sniper. You could switch out the FTAC sport comb for, I guess, deep breath would be the best thing. This way you can hold your breath for a minute instead of 10 seconds. Therefore you can really hard scope well if you switch to the deep breath perk. The second most used gun in Warzone is going to be the MP40, picked in 8% of loadouts. This thing is really good, like the well gun, where you have a great time to kill up close as well as almost no recoil. It's incredibly easy to use while having extremely high time to kills, which is sort of a busted combination. However, the well gun does have a slightly better TTK and a slightly better TTK at range, so I think the MP40 is probably the second best SMG in Warzone. And why do people use it more than the other one? I think it's just because the well gun was implemented later within a battle pass and people just have the MP40 leveled up. Now if we go into the class setup, I have a few problems with the most popular attachments on this thing. The majority of it's really good, but my main issue is going to be the ammunition being incendiary. This thing is trash. They nerfed it a few weeks ago, and what they did was, instead of lowering damage range, they lowered damage, making it take more bullets to kill, increasing the time to kill. I don't care if you get 2 damage every 0.2 seconds from fire. That's completely useless with how low the TTK becomes by lowering the damage. Use hollow point instead of incendiary, and then the rest of these attachments I'm going to switch is just preference based. So with hand stop, I don't think we need the extra recoil and accuracy. I throw in the Mark V Skeletal to get my ADS speeds up because this is going to be best at close range because the time to kill at range isn't fantastic. So I'm really gearing this towards being an SMG and not a sniper support. And then the last thing, I take off the slate reflector and throw in the ISO 1M iron sights. That way I get my ADS up and the iron sights are super clean and easy to hit your shots with. For all, this weapon is still amazing. If you don't have the well gun leveled up, use this one. And the #1 most used weapon in Warzone is going to be the Cooper Carbine. And I can't say that I'm shocked. And the reason why is this is the jack of all trades weapon. It can be used as an SMG, a sniper support, or a long range AR. This thing is just great in every single role you put it in. The 10 attachments really help it because you can kind of mold it into whatever you want it to be, more so than any other weapon in the game. Now if we go into the most used attachments, people apparently like to use this thing as a long range weapon the most, and there are a couple changes I would make to these most used attachments. First off, you probably already know the G16 should be the 3 to 6 times optic for long range. Now for the stock, I would not use this Cooper 45 RS because look at this, accuracy and recoil during sustained fire goes down. That is a terrible thing to have on a long range weapon. Why would you ever do that? I would probably switch up to either the Cooper Custom Padded or the Cooper 45W, but I think I'd go with this Cooper 45 because it gives you accuracy during sustained fire or when you're crouched, prone, or mounted, and it only hurts movement speed. And since we're using it at long range, I'm not going to worry too much about the movement speed on this thing. Now the rest of it, I'm pretty comfortable with. Of course, we need lengthened for the bullet velocity. The 60 round drum is going to be the best for TTK. Everything else looks pretty good on this. And I got another top 10 video linked at the end of this if you want want to check it out. Peace.